to Aware. We are dedicated to communicating information that inspires your positive growth and change. Are you interested in a peaceful planet? Are you interested in optimal health? Are you living with purpose? Are you enjoying your life? We realize each person can make a difference, and our mission is to empower your awareness. The choices that you make in every moment shape your life, and we encourage you to realize that you have your own answers and to always listen to your own truth. We invite you to stay aware.
Hello and welcome to the Aware Show. I am Lisa Garr. And in this time that we're experiencing right now, where we're maybe somewhat isolated, we have stay-at-home orders, how many new habits have you picked up during this time? Maybe it's going to be around eating. And maybe those times where you feel empty or lonely or bored or stressed, are you reaching for those unconscious patterns that cause us to put on that COVID-7, that COVID-10? And we are talking today about how to undo some of those patterns. First of all, how they're created and what we're doing in terms of eating for stress. And I'm so excited about the best person to speak with about this is Udo Erasmus. Have you ever experienced Udo's oil? That is an amazing, amazing product. It's been around for decades. Udo was one of the very first people that started speaking about healthy fats and oils. I would say, 40 years ago, Udo?
I started in talking about it in 1987.
Yes, way before the whole fats and oils craze happened.
And I started working on it in 1981.
Wow. So that is wonderful. I mean, has a wonderful book out called Fats That Heal, Fats That Kill. It's over 250,000 copies in print, probably more at this point. And a new book out called Total Sexy Health, which is his latest book about the whole person. So in this experience that we've been going through, Udo, how many people have you heard from that are experiencing weight gain during this stay-at-home kind of shutdown experience that we're having?
Probably 50% of the people who talk about it, I would say. Yeah.
Why? Why do you feel that we're reaching for these unwanted calories?
Well, when in doubt, eat.
I do it. Yeah.
And we have lots of doubt. But there are a number of reasons. One is stress. It actually makes sense to eat more when you're stressed because you're tanking up fuel for a fight or flight situation. If you were living in nature with physical dangers. But when the mind is stressed, it doesn't make a distinction between what's physical and what's mental. So You're preparing for fight or flight, and you're stressed, you watch the news, and you get, all the reasons and all the fears and all the fear mongering. And it's pretty excessive because it's every day. So if you're watching, maybe the best weight loss program at that point is turn off the television.
It's a really good start. I mean, This is,
but then you have nothing else to do. And then it's like, what else are you going to do at home? And you got food at home. And it's very easy to do that, even if you're not hungry. A lot of times people will eat when they're actually thirsty. So what I sometimes will recommend to people, if you're hungry and you feel like you want to eat something, drink a glass of water, drink a tall glass of water first and see if it goes away. Because if it goes away, then you weren't hungry, you were thirsty.
That's a great first tip. I love that. So here's my routine. I don't know if anyone else does this, but it's exercise in the morning. And then I sit for 6 to 8 hours. And I'll get up in the middle of maybe 2 to 3 hours of sitting in front of Zoom, and I'll go into the kitchen and just whatever isn't nailed down goes into my mouth. And then I'll sit back down for another 2 to 3 hours. Right. And then it's dinner time. And where do I start?
Right.
Where do I start?
Well, yeah. So I think, and then the other thing is, people, it's okay to feel hungry and not immediately have to satisfy it. Enjoy the feeling. It's a feeling of life.
Oh, something interesting. Something interesting there.
Right? Because it's about experience.
Well,
And experience, don't judge it. Just say, okay, I'm hungry. and just feel what it feels like. And you get to eat soon enough, but drink first.
So
And then,
that being hungry feeling
yeah,
alludes to a sense of survival. And a lot of what we're experiencing right now are feelings of survival,
right.
right?
Yeah. Then there's
What-
another reason. There's, overweight people have a different signal to stop eating than normal weight people. You're supposed to stop eating when the hunger is gone, not when your stomach hurts, or not when all the food is gone. Because the idea is you want the hunger to go away. If that's the signal, you won't overeat. But if you eat until all the food is gone, well, we have a lot of food in the Western world, so we have more food than we need. And some people literally they eat and eat and eat till their stomach hurts. When your stomach hurts, you've already overdone it because you're stretching the basket, right?
And it's also a lot of numb eating where you're eating in front of Netflix or eating in front of your desk and scrolling through your emails. There's not a designated time to sit down and eat unless you have a family and you do family dinners, but you don't do that every night.
Who does that anymore? But the other thing is that if you're eating when you're watching television or whatever it is, and you're getting munchies, that's your body telling you you need some movement. So then get up and dance in front of your television, or do stretches, or do something physical, because it's not like you necessarily have to eat, but you need to be physically active. And if you spend a lot of time sitting in front of one of your devices, then you're not going to get the activity, even though your body's telling you. And then the only activity is like, the exercise you get from elbow to mouth.
Yes,
and
yes.
Swallowing.
Okay.
Right?
So we have to interrupt the pattern, right? Interrupt that unconsciousness. How do we wake ourselves up to interrupt it?
I think it helps to have insight about it. If you're sitting in front of the TV and you open the bag and you hear the crunch of the bag, let that be your signal to jump up and down and bounce around a little bit.
How about not buying the bag in the first place? That's my fault.
Yeah, well, so if you could go back to that, and as soon as you see the bag, you say, no, I'm dancing instead. That'll work.
Oh, I buy the bag of chips so that my husband can eat it, but he brings it out and I eat it. So
yeah,
it's his fault.
You have to find a better excuse.
I know. So it's all a lot of consciousness around food, but also it's swapping good habits for bad habits. The bad ones that snuck in there, that got programmed, that built their little neural chains. We need to build new neural chains. Tell us about that. How does that work?
Well, everything is associated.
Okay.
A lot of people eat because food is their friend, and they associate food with mother love. And maybe the food wasn't that good, even though the mother love was good. But maybe the food wasn't that good. But the mother got bamboozled by an industry into buying things that weren't fresh, whole, raw, organic, and mostly plant-based. Mm-hmm. And so you learn the habit. You associate eating with mother love, especially when you're lonely and you don't have friends around, and you're just like feeling isolated. And what I recommend people do is keep the mother love, but separate it from the habit, and then look at what is a habit, what is a good eating habit, and then enjoy the mother love.
Okay, let's
separate the habit and create new habits that are more in line with what your body needs. And you get signals from that, because junk food doesn't make you feel that good.
So let's break that down, what you just said, because I really want to unpack it. The loneliness and the association with loneliness and food nurturing something that gives you need to shift that association to healthy foods are what give you nurturing, and less of them, but more of something else that will nurture you, like movement, dance. It could be anything. What do you think? What are your suggestions?
Well, yeah, what I'm thinking about is that eating and mother love are two completely different things, right? You eat for the body to give your life fuel to build and repair your body. That's
Got it.
that's what food is for. So you want to separate those two issues. One is mother love, keep it. Every time you think of your mother, it's amazing what women do when they have children and raise children. It's the most important job on the planet, right? So the mother, so keeping the mother love is a really good idea, but separated. That's one issue. The other issue is eating and what you're eating.
Great. Okay. Great point.
Now, people can do that. There can be other reasons why people eat. Maybe lonely, maybe it's not always mother love, but you always want to separate whatever those two things are in your own mind. Once you understand, oh, these are really, and in a way, you have to be aware to do that.
Yes.
So I'm providing that because I'm aware of that, right? And so always separate the eating function that is for making your body, giving your body the fuel and the building blocks it needs, and whatever else you associate with them, separate them out, deal with them independently.
And then ask yourself, are you hungry or are you thirsty?
Yeah.
During that time.
Or are you neither and need to be more active?
Need to be more active. Okay. So that's a really great point.
Or you're bored. Or you're bored, and so you do it out of boredom. So put something else in the boredom space that is interesting. It doesn't always have to be food.
And don't associate it with food. Yeah, food is just so would it help then to separate maybe just 3 meals a day, pre-pack those, and add a lot of healthy fats and oils? Because those are very satiating, right?
It might. It just depends on how your lifestyle is. The oils and fats actually suppress appetite. If you eat carbs, it's very easy to overeat them. Then your blood sugar goes too high. Then your insulin goes too high. Then it's driven into the cells because that's protective. And then it turns into fat. And by the time that's done, because insulin is really good at its job, now your blood sugar is low, then you get cravings, and then you go back to the carbs because you know that carbs deal with cravings. So most of our overweight comes from inflammation, which is water retention, or too many carbs. And the carbs turn into fats if you don't burn them. They're great if you burn them, but I call them undeclared fats, because if you don't burn them, they're going to turn into fat and you're going to wear them. So carbs, burn them or wear them. So,
wow.
And fats don't make you fat because they suppress appetite. Even though they have more calories per gram, they suppress appetite because your liver has to process them. And when you have enough, your liver makes your appetite go away. And if you eat more on top of that, because you're not paying attention, then you start to feel heavy, tired, or nauseous. And if you eat even more on top of that, you would probably throw up, because that's the way your liver protects itself from you giving it too much work to do that it can't handle.
So if you're eating the carbs, it's going to be quick for burning sugar metabolism and it's gone out of the body. But if you're eating fats and oils on maybe some kale or some leafy greens that take some energy to chew and digest, you're doing the body a long-term burning service, right?
Right. And also, if you eat more of the green vegetables and the high water, low starch vegetables, you're going to get a lot more vitamins and minerals and other essential nutrients. And you're not going to get so much carbs. That is going to be a problem for you. Potatoes, bread,
like zucchini, and like what are the high water ones?
Well, broccoli and cauliflower, and they're not all green, and bell peppers and cabbage, red cabbage and green cabbage, and all of the plant, not potatoes and not grains and not bread and not sugar and not sweets.
I love cauliflower and I love what you can do with it, and it's the latest craze, but it really tears my stomach up. Have you heard that? Is it difficult to digest?
For some people, Yeah.
Hmm.
I
Why?
love it. I love it. I eat it raw. Can be a little gassy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But
Why does it cause that type of gas? What is it about cauliflower that causes
uh,
that?
there is a sugar, a carbohydrate in those uh, kind of foods. It's a three sugar polysaccharide. It's called polysaccharides, right? So three different sugar molecules together, and bacteria eat it. And when bacteria eat sugar, they sometimes produce some gas
Is the bacteria in the gut or is the bacteria in the cauliflower?
in the gut.
Oh, interesting.
Your
Interesting.
gut is loads of bacteria in it. And there's
Okay.
something called Beano that you can take. That's an enzyme that is specific for breaking that carbohydrate down.
I haven't heard of that for such a long time. That
Yep.
is great. What about prebiotics and probiotics? Could those help with the bacteria in the gut?
Well, prebiotics help, of course, because they're food for the probiotics, and they're fiber. They're really fiber. And the more fiber you eat, the less room there is for all the high calorie stuff. So from that perspective, high fiber foods are a really good idea. They're all plant-based because animal foods don't have fiber in them unless it's added.
Okay, right.
Animal foods don't have fiber in them by nature. And so those are the prebiotics. And the probiotics, of course, they also eat a lot. And the other bacteria in your digestive tract, they eat a lot, and they make lots of things that are good for you if you have the right kind of bacteria. So they're helpful. Sometimes when you start with probiotics, you get more gas for a couple of weeks until your body gets used to it, and then they're not, And then if you mix fruit and vegetables, that tends to make you pretty gassy. But also starch and protein together, or and fruit together.
When you mix fruit with anything, it becomes gassy, right?
Yeah, fruits. Yeah, idea.
Because of the sugars, right? You just mentioned because of the bacteria in the gut.
Yeah.
Interesting. So it's fruit sugars as well as processed sugars.
But mainly when you mix them, fruit with vegetables, or fruit with starches, or fruit with protein. So it's better to eat fruit by itself.
Okay.
But you can put oil on it, but you can put oil on fruit, and oil is compatible with everything.
What have you put? What kind of oil have you put on fruit? Tell me about that.
Oh, you know what I do.
You put it on everything.
I have my own. Yeah, I can. I use it with everything, but I don't do it all the time. I just do it when I feel like it.
So Udo's oil has the 369, the amino acids in it, right?
No, fatty acid.
No, fatty acids.
Yeah, I knew.
Fatty acids. So tell me about the difference between the 3s and the 6s and the 9s of the fatty acids.
Okay, 9 is not essential.
Okay.
And essential means you can't make it in your body from anything else. So you have to bring it in from outside. And that applies to 18 minerals, 13 vitamins, 8 essential amino acids, 2 essential fatty acids. Omega-3 and 6 are the 2 essential fatty acids. Both are essential. If you don't get enough, you can't stay healthy. Your health deteriorates. You get deficiency symptoms. They're degenerative in nature. They get worse with time. And if you don't get enough of any essential nutrient long enough, you die. So these are like really important. This is the key building blocks for body construction.
I'm so curious because I always think that the body is so perfect and it's innately intelligent and it really strives for this perfect balance. Yet God somehow did not provide us with these essential nutrients that it needs to live, like vitamin C and the essential fatty acid 9. Why do you feel that is?
Well, I don't think God didn't provide us. I think we're a long ways from what God created, because if you really wanted to take God on, you'd have to say, I got to eat fresh, whole, raw, organic, in season, locally grown, sun ripe, because that was the law in nature created by God. Right? Now, then you look at what are you doing? You look at your cupboards and look at your fridge and what do you have in the house? Most of it's not fresh. Even your fresh vegetables are a week or two old, right? So it's
True.
not fresh. Most of what we eat is not raw. So we've destroyed the probiotics on it and the enzymes in it that help with digestion. So it's not
Ah.
fresh, it's not raw. It may or may not be organic, and a lot of it is not whole.
Mm.
So
Could this
all of those minerals and vitamins and essential nutrients did come from nature. Only now we can also take them as supplements. And part of the reason why the supplements are necessary, it could be because the soils are poor. It could be because we're not living in line with nature. It could be because we're cooking and frying the foods and destroying quite a bit of stuff.
mm,
So really, if you're going to take on God, you got to do it God's way. Fresh or raw.
got it? So we were meant to live in harmony and in balance with nature, rely on one another. And over time, we have evolved out of that. And then you add in the pesticides and all of the chemicals
Yep.
and on the genetically modified foods. No wonder we're depressed, lonely,
Yeah.
overweight, and a disease-ridden society that then leads to incredibly poor immune systems, as we are noticing with this virus spreading and being so vicious. Now,
Yeah.
how can fats and oils, and specifically your blend of Udo's oil, because you just explained the essential fatty acids in it, how can that help with immune system balance?
The omega-3s particularly, I call them the God molecule because God is energy. And these are the molecules that have the most energy of any molecules. And anything that gives you more energy makes everything function better. If your brain gets more energy, you think better. Your IQ goes up. If your thyroid cells get more energy, they do their job better. If you give your muscles more energy, they do their job better. If you give bones more energy, they do their job. So whatever it is that is the specialty of each cell and tissue type, you give it more energy, it can do its job better. And it's also very oxygen loving. So it helps to bring oxygen into the system. That's part of the energy system.
Ah,
So that's omega-3. It's way better at it. It's 5 times more chemically active than omega-6. And omega-6 and 3 are also not only good for fuel, but they're also good for the cell membrane structure. And because they have high energy, they make the receptors work more effectively at the cell receptor level. So that means as you get older and things start to run down more, you're still going to get normal function longer, including hormone functions and gland functions and liver and kidney functions. Those functions, you end up living longer normally just because you're getting enough of this molecule that is the high energy, it's the high charge molecule. And it's also turns on the fat burning genes. So here is a fat, omega-3s are a fat or an oil that actually turns on and increases fat burning in the body. You use it for losing fat because I call it the fat burning fire starter, because they gets the genes that are used for chopping up the fats for energy. They gets them going better.
now this is different than putting olive oil in a pan and frying a piece of fish, because what happens, if you could let us know, what happens with the oils once you start to change them with heat?
Oh, well, when you fry something, you actually damaging the oil by light, oxygen, and heat all at the same time. And those are the good oils are sensitive to those 3. So the higher the temperature, the faster light and oxygen do damage. And I did the math on that. And if you go from 0 degrees centigrade to 100, so you double the rate of damage by 2, 3, or 4 times, and you do that 10 times. So every 10, you double, triple, or quadrupling the rate at which the oil gets damaged. Frying is the dumbest thing we ever invented. Like God never created that frying pan.
He did. I mean, the oils were most likely, as we found them in olives and so forth, mostly eaten raw when they were originally, in nature, they're found raw.
Yeah, all the oils come from seeds and nuts.
Fish. Oh, so not fish.
Fish is now the dirtiest meat on the planet because we've thrown so much garbage on the planet, and everything goes downhill, and it ends up in the ocean. And in the ocean, it concentrates up the food chain, and the high-fat animals in the ocean have the most pollution, have the most toxicity. So the higher you eat, salmon is pretty high on the food chain. It'd be better to get it low on the food chain because that'll be cleaner, but it's still the dirtiest meat on the planet now because we're always washing the land.
What about the streams, though, and not the ocean, like the salmon's found in streams?
Where you go.
That's better.
It could be. It could be better. It depends on where you go. Because there are some places inland, usually not a little bit further away from civilization or mines or, I mean, we have people in northern British Columbia spraying glyphosate into the forest. And there are people who are up in arms about it, and our government said they would end it. And of course, once they're in, they didn't end it.
Right.
But because in the city, people don't know it as well as they do up there.
I wonder if it's better if there is such a thing as an organic farm-raised salmon, that you can control the environment and it won't be subject to the pollutions in the downstream waters, as long as you can control and not have to use so many antibiotics.
Yeah, and the issue is the control. The reason why you can't get organic fish out of the ocean is because you can't isolate a piece of ocean because the water moving everywhere.
Right. I've never seen organic farm-raised fish either.
But you can get some organic farm-raised fish.
Really?
Yeah, it's not as big an industry as it could be.
Right, because they need the antibiotics to heal the bacteria.
Well, maybe that depends on where you're doing it, because the fish that swim in rivers or in lakes, they don't need antibiotics in the wild.
Right.
So why do ours do that? So it's a question of how clean a place you can set up, and you do need to have control over the environment. Otherwise, things drift in there, or maybe upstream somebody's spraying pesticides and they're running into the water. So it's not an easy thing to do because we have been so careless.
Yeah, I say the antibiotics because of the overcrowding of the fish and the disease and the and the cleanliness. Yeah, it definitely.
Yeah, but also because we feed them garbage.
Right.
And so they're not getting their natural food, which is live for them too. So if they're fed garbage out of bags, and then they're not as strong, and in fact their meat is not orange like it is in wild salmon.
Right.
Their meat is gray, so they have to feed them color, so that to make the meat colored.
That is right. Every salmon I ever see says color added. Imagine if you had a bunch of gray fish. Oh, yeah, that wouldn't work.
Well, maybe you should just buy the bottle of color and just eat the color.
Or just buy the oil, the pure oil, and then just put that on fruits and vegetables so that you can get the true oil. So
I used to eat salmon all the time. I don't eat it anymore.
You don't eat. I can tell why. If you really break it down like that, it makes sense. Let me ask you about what do we cook with, though? If people do want to cook fish or eggs, what is it that you recommend?
Well, when I was a kid, cooking meant the preparation of food with hot water. That's what cooking meant, and the other one was called frying. Now we call cooking frying things in oil. You don't have to use oil for frying. And in fact, when you fry, you burn the food and you increase inflammation and cancer risk, whether it's starch or protein or fats. And when you cook with water, you don't burn the food. You still lose something because you're losing the probiotics and the enzymes, and maybe some of the minerals leach out, and a little bit of the more sensitive vitamins is damaged by cooking in water. But it's a whole lot better than frying. And then, of course, the other one, going back to God here, raw would be very good.
Raw eggs. Well, how do you cook eggs in water? So you would Well, hard-boiled eggs?
You can poach, you can soft boil, you can hard boil, right? You can water scramble. So it's not like you can pretty much do everything except burn the eggs with water.
Yeah, that's true. There's an egg drop soup where you have the soup and you drop the egg in and it cooks it. That's so good.
Yeah.
There's so much here to talk about it. And I know you've spoken about this for 40 years and discovered this, but what would you say is different about these times? Do you think people are more receptive to this information, or is the block and the barrier so strong that people just don't want to hear about health because of the depression and the loneliness? What is your opinion?
Well, it's always an individual decision. People who are open for whatever their reason is, and people who are not open to it is because they just haven't thought about it. And so it's individual. There are people who are getting healthier in the midst of most people getting sicker. And it's all based on individual choices that people are making. Right? Now, so what is the choice? Why not? Why isn't everybody listening? Well, because our august institutions don't promote it. You know, our healthcare system is a disease management system. There's a place for that, but it's not healthcare. It's disease management. It is a misrepresentation of the service they provide. We don't have a health care system other than as an alternative where people go raw or people go vegetarian. And there's lots of knowledge and lots of science around, but not everybody goes into the journals to read the science.
Right. As we've heard many times, we have a sick care system.
Yeah.
And especially now, if people have experienced the effects of COVID, there is a long road to recovery after, if someone has had that very, very wicked virus. And
especially if they have pre-existing conditions that made them more susceptible and that made the symptoms worse. That's a huge issue that they have. I think they've measured the people who die with COVID, not necessarily from COVID, on average have 2.4 previously existing conditions. Cardio, cancer, obesity, diabetes, and then, of course, lung issues as well.
Not just one. It's interesting because once you go starting on that path of one autoimmune disease, you're 70% more likely to get a secondary autoimmune dysfunction, because it breaks the system down even more. And when I heard that, I had been diagnosed with Hashimoto's thyroiditis. Yep. And when my functional medicine doctor said, you are now 70% more likely to get a secondary, I was not going to let that happen. I just went, oh my goodness. You know, I come from a family with diabetes and heart disease and cancer and everything. And I just didn't want to be in that statistical pool. And so I found everything I could to reverse it. And I no longer have the effects of it, right, which is, you know, the foggy thinking, the hair loss, all that stuff. I've somehow, through a lot of hard work, it's not just magical.
That's like air, it covers up your microphone.
Oh, sorry.
No, I was joking about before.
I did. I made a strong effort to. Fats and oils are a huge part of my life, and it's been a big thing for me to learn how to eat. I had to cut all my food allergies out. That was the number one thing, with the wheat and the dairy and the sugar. All of those things were causing so much inflammation in my body. I was extremely allergic to them, and certain vegetables as well. Sadly, the green peppers, the red peppers, the cauliflowers, the nightshades. I had to.
So your doctor read you the Riot Act, and that got you motivated to do what you needed to do.
I interview people like you and Perlmutter and McCullough and all these incredible people who are autoimmune specialists. Tom O'Brien, I know you know many of them, that have led me in the right direction of just pretty much beating me up and saying, nope, you're going to get a secondary. I don't know if you know Gil Kajiki. I mean, he was really great with it. He's a thyroid functional medicine guy here. And it took a lot, but I learned that I didn't want to live that lifestyle. and I had the genetic code, but I didn't want to activate it.
Mhm.
And you too, about your lifestyle?
Yeah.
Tell me a lot about your day. Like, how do you start your day? What is your experience like?
I start my day with my quiet practice because I joke about it. I take it very seriously, but I joke about it. I say, look, when I wake up, I want to check in to see if I'm still there, because if I'm not there anymore, there's no point in getting up.
Oh,
So it's a fun way of saying it. But I like that. I like to start my day in a place from a place where I feel content, peaceful, quiet, alert, present, loved, because all of that is inside of us. Doesn't matter what else is going on, all of that is inside of us. So that's the first thing I do. Then usually I'll go to the bathroom and do my due diligence there. And then I'll come in and I'll look at my emails and stuff and get that going. And I often don't eat breakfast until maybe 11 or 12. I eat when I'm hungry. I'm not regular that way.
what do you drink in the morning?
Water, tea, mostly water, tea. Occasionally I have a coffee, but coffee is burnt beans. So I like tea better. I drink all kinds of different teas. I like matcha, green tea powder. I have a little restaurant that I go to sometimes. They make me a green tea powder and turmeric powder mixed together. And so that on their till, they have an Udo's drink is the designation, because nobody else, I mean, now there's some people getting it, but it's Udo's drink. So I have my own button.
Oh, I love it. Is there any oat milk in that or anything?
Any what?
Oat milk?
I use unsweetened, because I'm pretty sugar sensitive. I use unsweetened almond milk. Or unsweetened soy milk if they have it.
So do you put any oils in that, or that's just your morning drink?
Sometimes I do like a bulletproof, but a bulletproof, everybody knows bulletproof, right?
Yeah.
But I like bulletproof with essential fatty acids in it, because they give you more energy. You get the hit from the coffee, so you get the hit from the tea, but then you also get better fuel. So I do that sometimes. I don't do it all the time.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
I love it. So you put that in with the turmeric and the matcha and a little bit of an almond or a unsweetened non-dairy, and then you add in your Udo's oil. Yeah. Yeah. And you whip it up.
That's my version of, I can't call it bulletproof because it's probably trademarked. And I don't want to either. I think it's better just because the ingredients are better.
That's great. You've embraced that.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that you started speaking about oils 20 years before Dave was born. I love Dave Asprey. He's a friend of mine. And I know that you're the kind of grandfather of this movement. So
I've met him. We've had some conversations. Yeah. He actually
I am sure.
lives up not far from here.
Oh,
in Canada.
I love it. I love it. Well, by the way, let's talk about coconut oils if you can. Oh, I want to get to your day, but.
Yeah. Okay.
Coconut.
Yeah, coconut has virtually no omega-3s at all. It has almost no omega-6s, like maybe 3, 4, 6%. The coconut is better than the oil. There's research now that shows coconut oil increases LDL cholesterol. That's not good. But when you eat the coconut, it doesn't raise cholesterol. And they think it's the fiber in the coconut that protects you from the oil, from what the oil will do without the fiber.
That is a great snack, by the way, coconut chunks.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Taste great. Yummy. But they come second. What comes first is the essential fatty acids, because that's the stuff from fats that you have to have. And then everything else, you can build everything else around that. If you optimize your intake of omega-3 and omega-6, and they're not damaged and they're not toxic, pesticides in them and stuff, then that cuts you some room for other things. And the saturated fats that we've been told make your platelets more sticky. So heart attack material, and insulin resistant, that's diabetes material. When you get enough omega-3s in the diet, they protect you from that. So actually the problem saturated fats cause comes mainly from omega-3 deficiency, and 99% of the population doesn't get enough omega-3s for optimum health.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
I'd love to know a little bit about the medium chain triglycerides.
Yeah.
What is that, and how does that help or not help, or where is it?
Medium chain triglycerides are an industrial product taken from coconut or palm kernel oil. And specifically in coconut and palm kernel, you have 16 carbon chains, 14 carbon chains, 12 carbon chains, 10, 8, 6, and maybe some 4, a little bit of 4. And medium chain triglycerides are 6, 8, 10, and 12. But 12 is not good for cardiovascular. So Dave Asprey, talking about bulletproof coffee, he gets his medium chain triglycerides that are only 10, 8, and 6. So they've been the 12s have been separated out because that's actually better. That protects you from getting cardiovascular problems that medium chain triglycerides could cause.
Fascinating. I mean, I told you this is my secret. It was my craving when I was pregnant was Udo's oil over cottage cheese with sea salt. That was all I ate and craved when I was pregnant, and I built a pretty strong kid.
Yeah, and I could tell you, we have a lot of, we call them Udo babies. The mothers took Udo's oil while they were pregnant, and I joke about it. I says, yeah, I know they're Udo babies. I wasn't in the bedroom, but I was in the kitchen.
It's so true. It is. Yeah.
But consistently, they are smart. They're really smart.
Yes.
And the reason why the craving is because when a woman is pregnant, she's got to feed one brain, and she's got to build a whole other one.
Mm.
And the brain, if you take the water out of the brain, what's left is 60% fat.
Wow.
And the fat in the brain is mostly omega-3 and omega-6. Like 15% omega-3, 15% omega-6. So it's not most of it, but it's the essential fatty acid richest organ in the body.
Ooh, that's why.
Other than retina and sperm.
Huh.
High in omega-3s.
I mean, the rest of the brain is just gray matter. It's got these wonderful fats in it, and then.
Yeah, there's also protein and minerals and vitamins. So, I mean, everything is in the brain too, and lots of water. Brain is 80% water, I think.
80% water. I'm such a curious person, but I'm having ADD here. I got to get back to your day.
Okay, yeah.
So your day, so you wake up, you have this wonderful Udo's latte, and then you move into, work and business and stuff. What do you do for food, exercise? What do you eat during the day? When do you eat? You said after 11.
Yeah, I eat when I'm hungry, and I eat whatever I feel like. And when I'm here by myself, right now my daughter's living here with my grandson who's 4. Oh. They escaped from New York when COVID hit, so they drove across the country in a truck with all of the stuff. All their stuff is still across the border. They came here in May, so she does quite a bit of cooking, and she likes to cook. When I'm by myself, I literally have just like a ton of vegetables in the fridge. I don't buy I don't buy potatoes. I buy lots of tomatoes. I don't buy bread most of the time, and every once in a while I have a little bread feast, but it's not an item for me. And I eat tahini, but I take the tahini, which is sesame seed butter. It comes in a 1 pound glass jar. Organic. I dump the sesame oil off because it's an omega-6 oil, put my oil in because it's a better oil, mix it up, and then I'll use that on the vegetables. And I'll eat raw vegetables, and sometimes I'll just drink that stuff out of the.
That sounds good. So are they raw vegetables? Do you ever steam them?
Mostly raw vegetables. Mm. The only thing I can't eat raw is beets. Because when I eat red beets raw, they scratch my throat, and it's just something. Even raw beet juice, for some reason, it scratches my throat, and it's really annoying. Mm. I I'll boil those. I'll cook those.
That
But
helps.
not much else.
And you have a little one running around. So do you ever find that there's, for you, times of stress or times of trying to understand how to teach this child about what it means to be alone, to be together? I mean, how is that going?
I got news for the world.
Okay.
They teach us.
True.
And they turn out well most of the time in spite of us. Right?
This is true.
So, and the grandpa, I'm not the mother. So mother is more into the discipline and what he should do. And, and it's, of course, he needs to be socially adapted. And women are very good at picking at him until they get the habit. I don't have to do most of that. I talk to him about things, in the environment, and I build things with him, and we horse around, we wrestle. It's so fun. It is so fun. So he doesn't stress me.
Aww.
And I'm pretty good. See, stress is interesting. When we say so-and-so stressed me or that thing stressed me, it would be more honest to say I used that person or that situation as an excuse to stress myself. Because you have to take it on to create the stress. Or you have to have an opinion about something should be a certain way. And then when it isn't, then you think that you should take issue with that. But you don't have to take issue with it. Right? People are how they are. You can just let them be. And you get
what if they're doing damage and harming other people and being unjust?
You don't have to be stressed to call the cops.
Mm.
If somebody's destructive, you have to protect people from it. But being stressed about it does not make you better at doing what you need to do. Most of the time. Unless, a bear is coming after you and you run like hell, right? But most of the time, we are actually more effective in our behavior and in our habits, in our addressing situations when we stay calm than when we get stressed and then fly off the handle and create even more of a problem.
The ideas definitely flow more if we are not stressed about it. Even those situations may be stressful, like losses of industry as we're experiencing, or harming our democracy, which is very discomforting. But it is our perceptions.
But wait, it's your perception, right? Because you don't have to be stressed. Attacking democracy is just attacking democracy, but it's because you have a position on it that it stresses you. And when it stresses you, and then you create negativity around that, you're not building democracy.
Well, I'd love to find some tools that can really help us to change our perception around the stress.
Right.
Maybe a process or a tool that can help us, because the financial stress is real right now, and there are a lot of injustices in the world.
There are a lot of things that need to be done. And I'm not disagreeing with you on that at all. I like democracy too. And I like that, that we look at how we can make it work for everybody. Because that's the whole point of government, right? You have a bunch of people living together. What's the point of the government? Well, to do what they can to make it work for everybody.
To govern. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm completely on board with that. And there's a lot of things happening that are not doing that. So we need to be in a different place, because we're creating that out of the sum total of our opinions and our behaviors. We are creating what we now don't like. And in order to create something better, we need to be in a different frame of mind. We need to be in a different state of being. I think we talked about it last time I talked with you. If you're angry, you're going to see the world very different than when you're afraid. And if you're in peace, you're going to see the world very different from the way it appears to you when you're afraid. So what state of being do we need to be in where our behavior that automatically flows from that state of being makes it work for everybody.
Hmm.
But then it becomes homework. Then it's like, okay, what do I want to do? I need to do my homework.
I can get there, and I can get there in that beautiful place of bliss and connection with the universe. But then when the next stressful thing happens,
Yeah.
I lose it super fast, faster than I have in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Can you recommend a way to be able to hold on to that feeling a little bit more or not get so impacted?
I remember when I first started to do my stillness practice, I would go into it and I'd have just a beautiful experience and just feel so content and so nice, And then I'd get up and I'd be instantly back into all the craziness that I had to deal with the world. And
Sure.
one day I got really tired of it, and it's like, damn it, I get this good feeling and then I lose it so quick. And I realized I got this, I call it fierce determination. This is how you change habits, right? You get to this point where you're just so sick and tired of it. You say, damn it, I'm going to drag this experience out into the world with me.
Mm.
And when that happened, I began to realize that I was just not doing that because it hadn't occurred to me. Now it occurred to me. And then I became better and better at taking it with me, because it was always there, possible. I just wasn't focused on making that happen.
So we
go, right?
Go back to the habit that we were talking about earlier, about the habits and catching yourself with the emotional eating and catching yourself when you come out of that meditation or that great feeling, how quickly you see you lose it.
Yeah. But if you don't notice, or it doesn't occur to you that you could actually hang on to it, then you're not going to make the effort. And it was just like, it hadn't occurred to me that I could make that effort. And then I started making it. And then, of course, when you get good at what you practice, so the more effort you make, the easier it becomes to stay in a good place, even when stuff around you is not in a good place.
So is that why it's called a choice? Udo's choice oils?
No, that was a whole other story. But no, but it's true. It's a choice. But you don't have a choice when you don't see that you have a choice. When people get depressed, or when people get into emotions that are negative that they wish they didn't have, it's because they're running a track. They've run it so many times that it's kind of a default track in their mind, right? Some trigger happens, and then you run down that track: depression or anxiety or anger or fear or whatever, right? And to get out of that track, you have to see other options. And when if you're sitting there, and this trigger happened, and you saw that you had 1,000 options of how to respond. And sometimes that's why people say, whenever something happens, suck back, take 3 breaths, create a little bit of space, because in that space, you start to see more choices are possible for you. Right? And so, but you have to see the choices.
That is another great tip in food and eating, is step back, take 3 beats.
Right.
Maybe 5.
Right. Right. Maybe, or, you go, you're bored. So you go to the kitchen, you open the fridge, and you just start looking around, and you haven't even thought about what you want to eat, haven't even thought that you're hungry, but it's kind of like when you're bored, fridge.
Yep.
I mean, it's quite funny. I do it too sometimes. It's really
cucumbers.
Cucumbers. Never get fat on cucumbers.
No, and they're really satisfying and crunchy and full of water, so they're good ones.
Yeah.
Don't dip them in a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I must say it's been always so much fun. This time just flew by, and I appreciate the tips that you've offered here about emotional eating, that we ultimately have a choice, and the stress comes from our perceptions around the stress. It doesn't have to impact us. We can create some distance between ourselves and the stress, and ourselves and emotional eating, get a hold of our choices, and ultimately, when you start making the right choices, more right choices happen after that, because it feels really good.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Well, you can find out so much more about Udo on his website, which is udoschoice.com. And it's always a joy to speak with you. You are definitely a mentor in health and food and mindset as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Now remember, when you get up from your chair at the end of the session, remember to take the feeling with you, not let it leave you.
You got it. I'm not running to the kitchen.
Yeah.
I'm staying right here with you. Thanks, Udo.
Right.
You are so much fun. Enjoy.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. You're so much fun too.
And we have fun in these shows. Well, if you want to, you can also listen to my first interview with Udo on my podcast, The Aware Show podcast, wherever you find podcasts. Check out that interview there as well. Share it with your friends. This is a really important time to support each other. So if you found this interview interesting and informational, please share it with other people and support them as well, because sharing is caring. All right, I am Lisa Garr, and until next time, I invite you to stay aware.